I was sitting in a small coffee shop in the village in Gondor province. I was a lone white face in a sea of Ethiopian black. 5 of us were sitting around this small table. One owned the village's sole internet cafe. Another worked in a coffee shop. A third was a construction laborer. The fourth was my interpreter and me. A young boy around 9 years old came up to us to sell us packets of tissues. He looked like all the other Ethiopian child beggars I had encountered, but there was something different about this boy. He had a hunger in his eyes that was palpable, and he had a huge red welt on one side of his face. I found out from my friends that the boy's parents had died of AIDS. Not one family member in his distant village in Ethiopia would take him in. It was hard enough to care for their own. And so he walked 30 miles on his own to this village in Gondar, hoping to find work. He had wandered into the cafe looking for food and a job. This group of 4 men with whom I was sitting had spent hours upon hours with him, feeding him, giving him small jobs, and finally, they had arranged for him to stay with a woman on the outskirts of town. She was a single grandmother with 5 grandchildren for whom she was solely responsible. She had agreed, though, welcoming this 6th child into her home. But all of us could tell that something now was very wrong with this young boy. We sat him down, we fed him, and we began to ask questions. He hadn't been back to the woman's house for over a week. He wouldn't say why he had left. He kept saying he was strong enough to be out on his own. He had been sleeping on the street, and an older boy had stolen his begging money in a fight, thus the red welt on his face. He had not eaten, we found out, in 2 days. An hour later, we walked him to the woman's house. She reached out to him when she saw him, but he recoiled, and he started to whimper. It seems that he had broken a plate and thought that she would beat him for this transgression. We spent the next hour helping him understand that he had a safe place in which to live. This woman would take care of him, would protect him. He had a home. Now, I looked around at this new home of his in which this woman and 6 children lived. It consisted of 2 rooms, each about 8 by 10, both with walls made of straw and mud with a hard concrete floor and a tin roof. Their furniture in the 2 rooms consisted of 1 platform on which the grandmother slept, a table, and 2 chairs. Some handmade shelves were along one wall, with their meager possessions barely filling them. I just didn't get it. How could this woman accept another body to sleep in this space, let alone another mouth to feed? Later, I found out that this group of 4 men had been paying the woman $10 a month, a princely sum for Ethiopian villagers, to help her care for not just this little boy, but for her 5 grandchildren as well. Why? Why were they doing this? Why did they spend the money they themselves barely had on a homeless orphan boy? Why did they expend so much energy and time keeping him safe and on the right track? Why did they give this woman money each month to feed her family? When we were all done and back at the cafe, I asked my questions. Each smiled at the other, and then my interpreter replied. Each one of us, he said quietly, has been that young boy. All of us were orphaned at early ages. And only because someone cared, in my case, my interpreter said, it was an American teacher. Only because of them did any of us survive. If we don't care for this young boy, who will? As the poet Hugh Prather so eloquently stated, we need other people, not in order to stay alive, but to be fully human. How genuine is my capacity for love if there is no one for me to love? Unless there is someone to whom I can give my gifts, then I am not a human. I'm a thing, merely a gadget that works, but has no soul. There is no doubt in my mind that each of us here tonight deeply cares, that each of us has a multitude of gifts to give, not unlike my 4 friends I met in Ethiopia. And not unlike Ethiopia, there are many, so many in this country, in this community, who go hungry each and every day. In Silicon Valley, with an embarrassment of wealth all around, we can go just a few blocks and see dozens and dozens of people who are underhoused, living in RVs and cars. The homeless and hungry are all around. Unlike my friends in Ethiopia, perhaps none of us have experienced true hunger or real homelessness. But I guarantee that those who came before us did. Maybe not our parents, and maybe not our grandparents or even our great-grandparents. But as our tradition teaches, we know the heart of strangers, for we were strangers. We were hungry. We were left without homes many times in our past. As we sit here tonight, comfortable and sated in this warm sanctuary, I challenge us to connect with our historic DNA. May we remember what it was like to be the widow, the orphan, the stranger, each one hungry and alone. May we know not just the heart of the stranger, but may we know the gnawing pain of the stranger's hunger. And may we, like my friends so long ago in Ethiopia, do something at this season to address that pain, to feed one more person, one more family. How do we do so? For Beth Am, it's participating in our hunger and homelessness campaign. Last year, you raised $27,000 to feed the hungry and help those without shelter in this community. Do you know how many meals that provided? It's about 10,000 meals. This year, the need is so much greater, and our goal is higher. Now, there are many ways to give. We have a tzedakah box in our lobby, and as you walk out, you could put money in it. You can, after services, take out your phones, bring up Venmo, and Venmo the congregation money at Beth-Am. If you're a member, you can log in and make a donation online. You can send in a check, or you can just call us and give us a donation. But regardless of how you do it, may we be like my 4 friends in Ethiopia who chose to care about a stranger. They had no reason to care, but they did. When we do so, we will be, in Hugh Prather's words, fully human, expressing our genuine capacity to love. When we feed those in need, we are offering them not food, not shelter, but we are offering them our love. Why? Because we are not treating them as strangers. Rather, we are treating them as family. And we take care of family. This season, may we take care of our human family, helping each to be safe in a home and to live without hunger each and every day. May we, in our own way, help bring healing and hope to our world. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's and our will. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We will conclude our service